Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMAC coming to you with one Adam Ship My Money Share as we have a very robust early Saturday slate. 3 games at 1 o'clock, a couple at 2 o'clock, and then some nice, or I should say, a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clocks, at 3 o'clock. So most sites are doing a 3 or 4 game early slate. DraftKings is going with their main early slate from 2 o'clock, taking in all of the 4 p.m. games, of which there are, half a dozen. So those are the ones we're going to cover. You're going to get the DFS strategy show with myself and one Jake Hari at 11:15 on Saturday. And then, of course, you will get live before lock. It is a 7:15 lock once again. There are 6 games on the main slate, and that will be because of Fox running their national games. So we will probably go live about 6:10 for that one, maybe 6:15. Check out, we'll put the time on the YouTube channel since I now have the control to update that because we usually launch those without looking. But we'll make sure we look at that because these are some of those random slates. Adam, how are you doing? You're up there in Baltimore, a single fella. You've got a nice place to live. How is the old Tinder treating you?
It was my first weekend in Baltimore, so hopefully I have a good one. But enjoying the time up here so far. I'm enjoying the place. DFS could go a little bit better, but other than that, everything's been good.
Yeah, and I laughed. Tinder, no idea. Bumble, no idea. Not YouTube. Uber, yes, and then Airbnb. So Uber, Airbnb, I'm familiar with. The other ones I've heard of. But let's jump on in here. We of course are going to go by pitcher each game, talking about the matchups. We'll know more about hitting because we have a lot of day games after night games, which generally leads to some different lineups. We don't know where that's going to happen. And since about half of the games have not been completed, over half of them have started already as we're recording this at 9 o'clock here on Saturday, but we'll have more injury updates, or if anything goes awry, we will have the news for you on that. So let's get in here on our slate. The first one, which looks like it's kind of FanDuel only, DK's doing a showdown slate. We have David Price. You can't spell David Price without revenge because he's going against one of his many former teams, the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay has not yet listed a starter. As I have seen, that means they could have an opener, or who the hell knows what they're going to do. Any thoughts here on David Price? We do have a tougher matchup here for him with the Rays. They're carrying a 4.2 implied run total. Vegas says, you know what, we're still going to give it a 5.4 implied run total for Boston. So whomever is the sacrificial lamb for the Rays, we're not going to worry about that. But thoughts on David Price with some potential strikeout upside here going against a mostly healthy now Tampa Bay Rays lineup?
I think it's a pretty decent spot for Price. He struck out 29% of righties this year, only 20% of lefties, but he has a 221 expected will allow the lefties. And guys like Meadows probably would be the only lefty in the lineup. So I think that it's a pretty decent spot. There are some strikeouts here. You get guys like Adames, Christian Arroyo, Mike Zunino. They'll all strike out, and Price is affordable. So definitely interested in him here.
All right, and the key thing to remember, Tampa Bay, their active roster is leading the league with 27.6 strikeouts, or a 27.6 strikeout percentage against lefties. They are sort of middle of the pack with a 104 WRC plus. That is, of course, weighted runs created plus, which is an advanced metric that neutralizes park factors and creates a league-wide baseline of 100. So that means they do a little bit better than the average team does in similar situations against similar-handed pitchers. So just keep that in mind. Potential upside there for David Price. Now, shout out to our buddy McCod. We have Paul Blackburn. He always likes to know who is the Paul Blackburn of the night. Well, the Paul Blackburn of the afternoon is going to be one Paul Blackburn going against Texas. We're looking at a 92-degree first pitch temperature. That's going to be 2 o'clock Eastern, which is what? Oh, I don't know, like 1 o'clock Texas time, maybe even noon. So it's going to be hot and getting hotter. Slight breeze, if we can say that, of 3 to 4 miles an hour going out to right. He is taking on Joe Palumbo. Let's just talk about the hitters in this one because we don't want the pitchers, as far as I know, Adam. So we're going to save pitcher talk for the DFS strategy show, but would you consider Paul Blackburn 54 on DK or Joe Palumbo, the lefty, at 6K even?
Probably not. Palumbo, I think, is kind of a prospect for Texas, but I would need to dig into him more because it's certainly not a spot that I'm going to feel good about going into. It's the hitting year for me. Blackburn's a guy that doesn't miss bats, and you have a ton of power in this Texas lineup against in a park that plays up power. And then on the other side, you have a ton of right-handed power for the Athletics with a huge park shift. So definitely looking to bats in this game.
All right, I can concur with that one. Palumbo, I was laughing because I was trying to find information on him. He has not, as best I can tell, been with the majors, but I did somehow know that name. Let me just double check the MLB starting lineups page because sometimes they put out some interesting tidbits. Let's see. Palumbo has made this courtesy of the MLB.com probable pitchers page. Palumbo has made 9 starts and 1 long relief appearance for AA Frisco, posting a 3.4 ERA, a 1.3 whip, and a 222 opponent's batting average against, which is not bad, but the A's do have power. There are some hidden strikeouts here and there. Probably not the environment in which we want to take a pitcher for his first appearance. Moving on to some guys that we're probably going to give some good consideration to. We have Lucas G Alito, 11,200 on DraftKings, going against Brad Keller, 6,500. I do have interest in both pitchers here. Now we're looking at an 83 to 86, depending on the site. You're looking at first pitch temperature, so it's going to be a warm one there in Kansas City. G Alito has just been lights out, but Kansas City is actually relatively decent. They've got some good stolen base upside. If we do get Wellington Castillo behind the plate, then it's going to be KD bar the door for the base runners. But Brad Keller on the other side doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, but he does not allow any power whatsoever. So at 6,500, I do have some interest in him. How are you squaring up these hurlers?
I'm hoping I don't have to go to Keller just because he really does not strike guys out. I hate rostering pitchers that you're just hoping that every ball in play is hit at someone because they aren't going to make up for it with strikeouts. Giolito, though, I love. He's been great this season. He has the highest strikeout percentage on this slate at 29.9%. He also has been holding runners. He's allowed 1 stolen base this year. He allowed 26 last season. I had mentioned after 1 or 2 starts this year that was something I wanted to keep an eye on because his delivery is entirely different than last year. It's shortened up a little bit. And I had said that.
Was he the guy that worked with his high school coach to figure something out?
I'm not sure. I just know he has a different delivery. And so I had said that I thought maybe he'd be more consistent because it's a more repeatable delivery, that also he could be quicker to the plate. He's only allowed 1 stolen base. So at this point, I'm willing to say he's quicker to the plate. Obviously, that also is a result of him letting less guys on base. But he used to basically just be a guy that, Tyler Glasnow-esque, where if anyone with any semblance of speed got to first base, he was on second or third after a couple of pitches. So that's really important when you talk about this Kansas City team, that he's been able to hold runners well, piling up strikeouts, like I said. Walk percentage is down to 7.7%. He's really living up to the hype that he had when he was in that system, and I would like to roster him here against the Royals.
All right, so this is if you go to MLB Network or search in Google Lucas Giolito high school coach, you will see a dramatic change in what he is doing. So it looks like what he was previously doing looked like a javelin hurler, the arm, or a discus hurler, arm fully back, straight away from his body, glove hand out. He has now essentially changed that delivery to a near hooked elbow at about a 45-degree angle instead of straight out. And what that has done is that has shortened his pitching motion, and it also helps disguise what his pitches are coming because they don't have a lot of tape on him. Do we do tape anymore? Video, JPEGs, whatever it is, GIFs, memes, we got it. But yeah, he's dramatically changed what he's doing. So they have a couple of fun screenshots there so you can see what it is. I'm not going to hit play just because I don't want to deal with the sound that's going to appear, but it is dramatically different. So that is something that is a major change, and as I happened to catch there from something I had read earlier, and Adam has seen just in the data, definitely worth keeping an eye on, and that is an absolute game changer if you will, just go and look at it. It'd be like using it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight or a gun to a gunfight. He's now bringing a gun to a gunfight. So definitely check that out. On the other side here, let me get back to my sheet. We have Brad Keller. I know you said you didn't like him, but at 6,500, we're looking at Aaron Sanchez at 62. And that's really the only value we're going to have unless you feel frisky with CC Sabathia or Adam Plutko there on DK or Zach Davies. None of these names are inspiring confidence. Knowing that those are the pitchers coming ahead here, Adam, does that change your take on Keller at all?
I mean, it's the same take. It's that he's inexpensive and he does a good job preventing runs, but he's just not a high upside guy. So I'm hoping I don't end up with him in a lot of lineups just because he doesn't get strikeouts. I don't think there's a huge difference between paying 6,500 for Keller or paying 4,900 for Cashner. They're Keller's better at preventing runs, but Cashner hasn't been terrible this season, and he's $1,600 less expensive.
Let's just say 2/3 of Keller's appearances thus far on DraftKings are single digits for points. We've got a 4.9 in 6 innings, a 3.6 in 5.2 innings, a 1.3 in 5 innings, a -2 in 6 innings, a 4.3 in 6 innings, and a 7.9 in 5 innings. Yeah, his first start, his start on October 12th, he did post a monster against Cleveland. That is clearly the outlier as he had 10 strikeouts. That's usually about a 2 to 3 game average for him. So again, when we say Keller prevents runs, yes, that is exactly what he does. Not a lot of upside though. Moving along here to Zack Greinke. I see on 2 of the sites I'm looking at, he has a little bit of a Q tag. He is going against Aaron Sanchez. We know that the Diamondbacks got to Marcus Stroman on Friday night. Greinke 10,100 on DK, Sanchez 62. Looking quickly at Yahoo, we have Greinke as the 3rd most expensive pitcher. Again, they do full slates on Yahoo. By the way, a presenting sponsor. We'll talk about them in a minute. But you've got Scherzer at 60, G Alito at 60 or 56, and Greinke at 55. I'm not really sure I like those guys. Rather try to get up that extra $5 to Greinke, though I have made my placeholder lineups for the 7 o'clock slate in the management fee free tournament. They got to pick a better one than that. But yeah, no rake. Enjoy that one. $3, 10 entry max, and it's going to be a good one. But I'm getting Scherzer in there. It was a bit of a stretch. We'll have to see what happens. Back to Greinke and Sanchez. What are your thoughts on that duo?
I think Greinke's in a really good spot. Toronto has really struggled at the plate this season. I don't necessarily think that continues for the rest of the year. I mean, they do have some talented hitters in this lineup, but Greinke's still really good. The strikeout numbers aren't great, but Toronto will give you some strikeouts. He doesn't walk anyone. 3.47 xFIP this season. I'd rather get the G Alito because he has more strikeout upside, but if I can't quite get there, I think Greinke's a nice consolation prize.
All right, they said Greinke dealing with a bit of a stiff neck, got an extra day of rest, so let's go look at the game log. So he pitched on June 1st, so he has, let's see, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. He has 6 days of full 6 days of rest. So should be good to go based on what they're saying. So that is one to keep an eye on, but we should not have to worry about that too much unless we get some other additional information. Moving on to our, 4 o'clock games. We have Tanner Roark and Nick Pavetta squaring off here in Philadelphia. We are looking at a 10-run implied total here, or just a tick shy. Tanner Roark is facing Philadelphia. They have a 4.9 implied run total. On the other side, you have Pavetta going against the Reds. They have a 4.2 implied run total. I'm not really thrilled about either of these guys. I know you have some thoughts on Pavetta. So filling out Tanner Roark, like a box of chocolates, as Forrest Gump says, you may be surprised. He gets some strikeouts, and then he goes days and games without strikeouts. Tough matchup against the Phillies. So if I was going with anybody on DK, it probably would be Pavetta here. What are your thoughts on Pavetta after his last start? Because he has just been in an absolute nosedive all season until then.
Yeah, I mean, he has he spent most of the season in the minor leagues where he was striking out a lot of guys, but also walking them. He's made 2 starts now in the majors. He's coming off of a good start against the Dodgers. He had a 17% swinging strike percentage and a 37.5 chase percentage in a really, really difficult matchup there. So that was good to see. I'm willing to take a chance on him here against Cincinnati just because of how much talent I think he has. Obviously it can go poorly, but I think he gives you a lot of upside in tournaments. So I expect that I'll have a pretty good amount of Pavetta.
Best part about Pavetta in the last start: 6 innings, 0 earned runs, and they still lost 8-0. I believe that was when they pulled him, and then the bullpen got their ass handed to him. So they pulled Pavetta, if I remember correctly, as his turn was coming up just before the 7th inning, and that was clearly potentially a mistake because he only had 82 pitches, and then everything went south. Sorry, Gabe Kapler. Sorry. Our full apologies. All right, continuing on at the expense of our next teams. Julio Teheran gets the dream matchup against the Marlins in Miami Park. We have 3.4 implied run total for the Marlins. Tehran, 9,000 even on DraftKings. You have Trevor Richards on the other side. We know Richards is a relatively good pitcher. I think he'd need to be in the 7,300 to 7,800 range before I'd really give some consideration to him against the Braves. What do you like about Tehran or Richards?
Yeah, I like Tehran more just because the matchup's better. It's a very right-handed heavy lineup. He struck out 24% of righties this year with a 307 expected WOBA. He still allowed some power with a 192 expected ISO and a 174 actual ISO. I think there's a really good chance that he ends up being more popular than he really should be, considering that he's $9,000. It's a perfectly fine play. I don't mind whatever Tehran I get. It's just that I normally in these spots, I just end up being a little bit underweight because the public values him higher than I do.
All right, looking through the Yahoo lens, we have Tehran at 42, Richards at 34. That gives me some interest. That equates out to about 7,400 or so on DK. If you're looking to Yahoo for your early game fun, would you consider Richards there at 34 against the Atlanta Braves?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent price tag on him. It's still not a matchup that I like. It's a good park, but I still would have trouble getting to Richards for 34 compared to Pavetta for 33.
Fair enough. I'm just looking. We got a quartet of games left. We do not yet have a starter for Detroit. Do you have anything on the different sites you are looking at?
I do not see anything.
I'm looking. Yep, even
It's supposed to be
MLB.com.
Kyle Gibson.
Oh, Kyle Gibson. Wait, no, Kyle Gibson for Minnesota, but who do you have for
Yeah, Fangraphs has Gregory Soto.
Yeesh. All right, well, let's talk about Kyle Gibson. I tried to give Laffy a chance on the podcast the other night to do a victory lap as Gibson was priced just over 10,000 on DraftKings for the second straight start. He has dipped all the way to 9,700, but not a bad place for him to go here against Detroit. He has not squared off against them yet this season. Gibson, of course, as you and Laffy have pointed out countless times, if he had a little bit better pitch mix, or gosh, I wish they had more of an advanced analytics department there for the Twinkies, he might have a better chance of doing stuff and things, and which leads to fantasy goodness. But Gibson at 9,700, perhaps he will be a little too spendy for some against Detroit. That seems a little bit interesting on DraftKings, Adam.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's a really good spot. He's struck out just shy of 30% of right-handed hitters this year. He's allowed a 301 expected WOBA, 118 ISO. Detroit has a lot of righties in their lineup. They have some swings and misses in their lineup. And so I think that it's a really appealing spot. I think that there's a chance where, I really like Greinke for a little bit more. I really like G Alito for a bit more than that. But I think that there's a chance where Tehran just steals a ton of ownership from Gibson because he's $700 less expensive. And, if you can if you can get Gibson over Tehran without sacrificing too much in the way of bats, I think that that's a pretty good pivot to make because it's a really, really high upside spot for Gibson, and I think he's a much better pitcher than Tehran is.
Yeah, the other thing we're going to want to look at is Yahoo, where, of course, once they start a slate, it goes all the way through the end of the day, so they don't section things off. Gibson is at $46, and the guys just above him would be Rich Hill, who is on the evening slate. You've got at 51, 55 is Greinke. Going below where Gibson is, you have David Price, who we talked about, at 43. You've got Tehran at 42. And you've got Jack Flaherty on the main slate going against the Cubs in Chicago at 41. For me, that's kind of a coin flip. If you have the extra $3, I think I would go Gibson over Price on Yahoo. What are your thoughts between that direct comparison of Kyle Gibson and David Price?
I would lean towards Gibson, I think. I have more respect for the Tampa offense than I do for the Tigers offense.
Yeah,
and I think Gibson's really good.
Yeah, that is more likely where I would land. Reminder, if you go to any of the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks articles there, which are free on Osmo.com, check out the third paragraph. That will give you the link to Yahoo as well as the instructions. The promo code is Osmo, but go in on the link, use the promo code Osmo, and on your initial DFS deposit, they will match up to your first $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points, which are just as good as cash. YSRPs, as they call them. You can use them to enter in any contest. Once you've done that, whatever you win is yours to withdraw or play again. Moving on to our next game. Yikes. CC Sabathia, Adam Plutko. We have Sabathia getting a 5.4 implied run total from the batters behind him going against Plutko. Cleveland is looking at a 4.7 implied run total here against Sabathia. We have an 80-degree temperature at first pitch. We've got 40% humidity, and we have sort of a cross breeze at 7 to 10 miles an hour going from first base to third base. Feels like we're probably looking at offense here. However, 7,700 on DK for Sabathia, 69. Adam, 69.
Nice.
For Plutko, thoughts on that duo?
Plutko is cheap. He's 28 on Yahoo in particular, but he's had some issues with power since debuting last season. He's thrown 699 pitches to righties. He's allowed a 280 ISO. He's thrown 739 pitches to lefties. He's allowed a 324 ISO. That's pretty scary when you're talking about going up against guys like Aaron Hicks and Gary Sanchez and Luke Voigt. Didi Gregorius is back. Clint Frazier has power. It's still not the full Yankee squad with Stanton and Judge, but it's still a really powerful offense. So I would side with the Yankees bats here against Plutko. As far as Sabathia goes, I think that it's an okay spot. Like, not a lot of strikeouts for him in the Indians lineup. He is pretty good at limiting damage, but if I'm going to roster a pitcher like that, I probably would just go for a cheaper.
Let's see. Just let me call it up. The Indians have the 20th highest strikeout rate against lefties with their active roster at 20.4%. Yeah, so that's about average. They also have a 90 WRC plus, which is a little below average. We know that several of their guys are slumping, and then they have a few other key players on other teams this season. So your mileage may vary there with one CC Sabathia. Always dangerous, but he can still shut him down because clearly he has learned how to pitch as he is winding down his long and illustrious career. Doesn't quite have the rear back and throw him the 97-mile-hour fastball that he once did. 2 games left here on the 4 o'clock slate. Adam, we've got Jordan Lyles against the Milwaukee Brewers, who are carrying a 5.3 implied run total. This one is in Milwaukee. On the other side, you have Zach Davies, 6,700, with the Pirates carrying a 4.3 implied run total. I'm sort of a whole lot of meh on either side here. Lyles does have some talent. I don't want to test it against the Brewers. Davies has had moments. He's had moments, Adam, and this is a Pirates lineup that doesn't really have a lot of name recognition, but they're pesky as hell with Kevin Newman, Brian Reynolds, Colin Moran, Blanco, Marte, Josh Bell, who is having one hell of a season. I don't know if it's a $5,800 price tag season for the afternoon slate here on DraftKings, but he's had a good one. What do you want to do with this pair of pitchers?
I have some respect for both pitchers, Lyles more so than Davies, but I think it's kind of an interesting game from an offensive standpoint because Davies doesn't miss a lot of bats, and it's a park upgrade for the Pirates' power. The only thing that is unfortunate is that they are really expensive, but that should keep their ownership down in tournaments. So if you can get there, I think that's kind of interesting. And then on the other side, you just have a really, really talented Brewers offense that actually is more affordable than the Pirates are. Lyles has been good this season, but no question about it. But it is a park downgrade for him, and it's just a really good offense. So getting to either of these teams in tournaments, I think, makes some sense, even though both pitchers are decent.
All right. Last game of the slate. You are familiar with the Baltimore Orioles. They have Andrew Cashner, and he is at 4,900. So I think we have to give Cashner some consideration here. While Houston has a 5.6 implied run total, they are missing 4 of their best hitters. That would be Jose Altuve, George Springer, Carlos Correa, and let's throw in Aledmys Diaz. It's not really a 5.6 implied run total against Cashner. It's the Baltimore god-awful Orioles bullpen. I believe that's how they write it out now in the articles, Adam. But Cashner, I am somewhat intrigued with at a $4,900 price point against a very watered-down Houston Astros lineup. This one is in Houston. How are you feeling about that one?
I'm hoping that I don't end up going there. It's a slate where I would like to just be getting, a lot of Greinke and Gibson and Tehran and G Alito and, sacrificing a little bit at hitter because I don't think there's really upside with guys like Cashner or Keller, down towards the bottom. But if I am playing some more expensive stacks, I don't hate the idea of going down to Cashner just because he is so cheap. It's pretty tough to go wrong when you have a pitcher that's cheaper than some hitters on the slate. And Cashner still, he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. He's at 17.1% this season, which is almost 3 percentage points higher than last season, but it's still not good. He does give up some home runs. But the one thing that really stands out is that his ground ball percentage, he was a ground ball pitcher. And then last year, he started giving up a lot more fly balls. His ground ball percentage went from 48.6% in 2017 to 40.4% last year, and his line drive percentage got up to 23%. This year, his line drive percentage is only 16%. His ground ball percentage is up slightly over 50%. So he's doing a better job of getting ground balls. This Astros lineup, it's still not an easy lineup, but they are missing Correa, Altuve, and Springer. So it's not the most difficult lineup. It's not like a huge endorsement for Cashner. It's just that he's really inexpensive on pitcher sites.
No, it's not. So let's talk price per pitch. I'm going to read the most recent reverse chronological order pitch counts for Cashner. Again, he's 4,900 on DK. 109, 91, 92, 92, 104, 99, 100, 98, 81, 90. So you're getting some I don't know what it is, opportunity for him to not screw up and at least get some outs. He has been averaging about 2.5 walks per game over his last 6. He has only allowed 1 home run per game, but he's done it in each of his last 6 and 7 of his last 9. There was a 2 home run game there 10 games ago, so he is averaging 1 home run per game. Point being, he's not giving up a ton of power. He's not getting a lot of strikeouts, but he's getting pitches, and if he can get a couple more ground balls than walks, we have a shot here. So I do just want to call that one out. He's 4,900. This is purely a price play. You're going to have to decide on Saturday if there are some hitting environments that you want to target, or if there are some top-end pitchers, and if you want to go with a top-end stack, perhaps Cashner can make that work. That is the game within the game that we do have to consider here. On the other side, Framber Valdez. Well, he is going against Baltimore. My apologies, Adam. Baltimore's dinged up. You had what is it? Severino's banged up. Villar's banged up. Who's your other guy?
DJ Stewart's on the injured list.
Yeah, DJ Stewart hurt himself running into a wall. I think it was running into a wall. Chris Davis, well, yeah, he's 2,500 on DK. I played him Friday night at that price, but I really don't want him in lefty. I don't think he'll be in the lineup, but who the hell else do they have? in this one. So Framber Valdez, good God, thoughts?
I think he's a pretty interesting Yahoo play at $28. He's
That's the
much
one
less
place I'm looking at him. That's the one
yeah,
place.
$29. Sorry, but yeah, I mean it's tough to get there at 7,400 on DraftKings. It's on one hand it's not like it's a really loaded price point, but he also has been pitching out of the bullpen for the Astros. He threw 65 pitches on the third in relief of Corbin Martin, so he's kind of stretched out, but not likely to go more than like 70 to 80 pitches. I wouldn't think. So basically a Yahoo play.
Yeah, I'd think about it 70 to 73 would be about where I'd be comfortable. And that would kind of be upside. I would suspect downside would be 60. So not the worst place you could go against Baltimore. Again, my apologies, Adam, but not the best place either. But again, you do on Yahoo have the full slate at your disposal. So if you want to look to some of the top end pitchers like Max Scherzer, perhaps he will be in your plans. I can't even believe we're still talking about him, but that is where we are. Shout out to Framber Valdez. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here, Adam?
Nope. Just make sure to tune into the strategy show on Saturday morning, and we'll be going over everything in more depth.
When you say we, I thought you had Saturday morning off.
No.
Oh, it's me and you. Oh, it's me and Jake on Saturday evening. So, man, we were talking about having a no hat show. I guess if you're going to be on, the no hat show may not happen. So there we are. But tune in 11:15 on Saturday morning. We have the DFS strategy show. We will have live before lock. That's going to go off. Remember, 7:15 start, so that'll go off probably 6:15 with the half dozen games there at the end. And then on the in between, you've got all sorts of goodness. We have various NASCAR content for all of the races, not just the big race on Sunday. We have golf content, single game content, and I think there's a hockey game as well coming up this weekend. So check that out. I've done very, very well using Jake Hari's projections on the showdown slates there on DraftKings. So that is something worth your while. You can follow Adam at ShipIMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS. And of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.